to Detroit Black and White, our Saturday morning edition. We're here at McShane's on the corner of Trumbull and Michigan Avenue. If anybody wants to come down, please do so. You can catch us on all social media platforms, and you can catch us on Wednesday and Friday evenings from 8:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. What we would like for you to do is not only watch, we want you to subscribe, like, notify, like, subscribe, and share. And make any comments that you like. So, who we have on deck this morning is, I'm going to go for my far right, Jim Nardone, former police chief of police in Trenton. How you doing, Jim?
Good morning, fine. Happy Saturday. A chilly Saturday.
It is. I'm going to quote somebody. I said people will get mad, but one of my cousins says this bipolar weather. She's just joking. She's not trying to make but the weather is so extreme here in Michigan. We also have Mr. Eric Brown. Good morning, Eric Brown, our education guru. How you doing, Eric?
I'm fine. Good morning. Happy Saturday. Happy post Resurrection Sunday, as well as quick prayer for the Pope who was buried today, or the ceremony was today. You know, they call it something else. So earlier this morning. So.
And the former writer for the Washington Post, the owner of Deadline Detroit, co-host of Detroit Black and White, Mr. Let's do a drum roll, Allan Lengel. Good morning, Allan.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. So I love such a historical corner, Michigan and Trumbull, where for many decades the Detroit Tigers played, and Corktown is really so amazing. How it's really flourished, although it's become too expensive to live in for a lot of people. But it's really.
There's restaurants that I've never even heard of that people say I'm going to Corktown to go to Alpino or whatever
Right,
it is.
Grandma Bob's Pizza, which is actually very
one
good.
Of the originals, wasn't it?
Yeah, I heard it good. Yeah, Grandma Bob's Pizza.
I don't like Grandma Bob's Pizza.
No? How come?
I've had it. The first time I had it, it was great. Then the second time, I'm like,
Not so great.
And what's the Cork and Gable?
Cork and Gable.
Somebody was
That's
telling me
a
about
restaurant.
Cork and Gable. I never heard of
It's a
it.
really cool restaurant.
I've been there.
The fish and chips are bomb.com. It's a really cool vibe. It's right there in front of the train station. And speaking of the train station, tonight is the Wolverine Bar Association's Barristers Ball.
Are they having it at the train station?
They're going to have it at the
wow.
train station, and it's the Met Gala. And I've had people say, Vanessa, you're not going? No, I haven't been. The last time I went was
Today is the 26th, so it is.
the last time I went was 1999. But it's nice. People get all gussied up and they're going. The theme this year is the Met Gala, so it's going to be quite interesting. But I'm not going.
So how?
$250.
Yeah, $250 per ticket.
No, thank you.
So have you been to the Detroit Dye House next door? You have your tie dye on?
No,
today,
I actually bought this from Five Below.
Oh,
I
really?
shop everywhere.
Wow.
So how is the
Five Below.
Does anybody know how's that Italian restaurant down on the corner?
Ottawa deal?
The one that's right down the street.
Right next door?
Out of beer?
Ottawa.
yeah.
It's the bar. I
Out
go
of
there
beer.
all the time. Adolph, his wife, and I, we meet there all the time. We've gone there to
I've
eat.
been there.
Yeah, I eat there regularly.
Used to be an
Dwayla
old bank
Boyce
building.
went.
That was the old bank.
Yeah,
That was a bank.
There used to be a bank building.
But yeah, so it was, the restaurant is pretty good. I haven't been to Hamilton's yet, but I have gone to the top of the hotel,
The Godfrey.
the Godfrey.
Yeah,
I've gone there.
How was that?
I didn't really like.
Oh, it's nice.
Yeah, the vibe
The
is
vibe
everything.
is nice. Yeah.
But the food, I didn't
Yeah,
like
the food is
I didn't like the food.
So why don't you tell our viewers where we're at today and give Mr. Roberts a little shout out?
Okay, I thought I said we were at the corner of.
But you didn't say where we were.
I didn't. We're at McShane's bar. We are at McShane's. Oh, we're at
You
McShane's.
might think you're lush.
Oh,
Restaurant.
I'm not a lush. I don't even drink. But at any rate,
This
thank
week,
you, Bob, for allowing us to be here every Saturday. And again, if you want to come down, come on down. I want to give a shout out to all those that are watching. Derek Henry, Ira Todd, Sam, Score 13. Thank you so much for watching Detroit Black and White. So we're gonna start off with your outrage. So Jim, do you have outrage?
Well, I'll go with this. Allan talked about a little bit on the show last night, and you and I talked about it before the show started. Judge Hannah Dugan, I guess Dugan, no relation to the mayor of Detroit, is a judge in Milwaukee. She's a circuit court judge, and she apparently was arrested this week for obstructing or impeding a proceeding. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and I have my own opinion. So ICE, I guess it was a joint task force between ICE, DA, and another FBI perhaps, that came to her courtroom and said, we're going to be taking into custody an illegal resident. Oh, yeah, so we have a question already. Karen McCrimmon's asking about it. So we're going to be taking this subject into custody who's been charged with assaulting. He assaulted his roommate, and when his girlfriend came, the roommate's girlfriend came to help, he also assaulted the girlfriend, and both were hospitalized, in my understanding. Now, I'm only going about what I've read in the press, all right? I don't know if it's completely accurate, because the press is not always completely accurate, and it's sometimes. So, unfortunately for this judge, I think she had an error in judgment. In my opinion, she is what would be maybe considered an activist judge. She led, she suggested that the task force group had to speak to another judge before they arrested this young man. And in the process, she led them out through a private area of the courtroom and freed them. Well, they were in the middle of a trial. He was being charged, and he was on the docket for this domestic violence. And she took it off the docket and released them. And a DA agent, I guess, was on the elevator when she was taking them out of the courtroom area and notified the other agents. And he was arrested and taken into custody. So they charged her with this crime, and she was arrested and taken into custody. Now, I don't know that she belongs in jail, but I will suggest this. She needs, I would suggest some kind of treatment. If you're letting your emotions decide, this was not during a court proceeding. This was independent of the court proceeding. So I think maybe she needs to talk to somebody. She might need some treatment. I don't know that she ends up in jail, but she was charged with a federal crime.
Well, listen. My opinion about that is this. As you said, we don't have all the information, but I do know as the judge, you may not like it, you may not agree with it, but you're supposed to follow the law. And if you were in the middle of a trial, that means that this guy was on the docket for the day, right? That means that case was on the docket for the day. You're supposed to follow the law. You may not like it. That's why we have a democracy, change the legislatures and get things changed. But you should not follow the law. That's
I have a question. Is that so? Had the proceeding even started for that guy, or
from my understanding, they were waiting. The witnesses were in the courtroom. The two victims, which we will call victims in this case, alleged victims, were in the courtroom waiting to testify in the case.
Okay. So the question becomes, I mean, one of the questions that I would have is like, what has jurisdiction? Should they not at least go through the due process of having the trial and then giving the federal government more ammunition to say, okay, this person has been convicted, now take them away, as opposed to in the middle of, before the process has even happened. I think one of the questions is where we're missing out on due process, where they're snatching people off the streets. And we have the New York Times did a story, and I don't know, like you say, if everything's a complete story, but a Venezuelan guy who was delivering McDonald's for one of those services, and he took a wrong turn, ended up on the Ambassador Bridge, which has happened to me before. And then suddenly he disappeared. He was down in Texas, and they think maybe he went to El Salvador to the prison now. But there's no due process there. So is the judge entitled, it's her courtroom, is entitled to say, let me finish my case. Go ahead. If he's convicted, take him away. If he's acquitted,
Take them away.
yeah, probably you're going to take him away anyways, but at least let the process happen. So, I mean, my feeling is that a judge is like, that's their domain. And yes, they have to follow the law. But at the same time, it's their house, it's their jurisdiction. Let them finish their business. And then you go ahead and take the guy if he's, So.
I think that was the plan, that they came and notified the court clerk or her staff that they were going to wait out the trial.
Oh,
And
they
at
were,
the conclusion
okay.
of the trial, they were going to take this gentleman into custody.
That I didn't read.
I think that's what she aired at
Right.
because she pretty much aided and abetted an absconder. She made him an absconder.
So let me ask this though: if she was notified ahead of time and that they were going to take him into custody after the hearing, I'm going to go back to your point. Was she actually saying, "Listen, let's see if there's something that should be done before we finish this"?
Right.
And if that was the case, should she have communicated that to them? Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know all the
I just
circumstances.
think-
I mean,
Yeah, I
she
don't know
has some
either, because it seems
obligations,
to me
but
she should have communicated that to them if that was the case.
Well, the information is she kind of lost her mind and started screaming, and she was abusive to the agents and abusive to her staff and abusive to, well, tell us, Vanessa, tell the
I'm not
audience.
gonna say no,
You
but
can't tell.
listen, no, I'm not protecting anybody, but I'm not protecting anybody that sits on the bench, but I have to be fair. If you have clients and you go in front of judges on a regular basis, you don't want them to take it out on your clients.
Or you.
So you keep in mind, look, you can say what you want to say to me, but if you take it out on my clients, that's a problem. So a lot of us try to avoid saying a lot of things, how we really feel about someone or somebody's in a public forum. But listen, people who go to the courthouse, they see how some of these people act. They see how disrespectful they are. They see that. They see that they put on the robe and they act disrespectful. But this is the thing. If you don't have nobody in your corner that calls you on your BS, you part of the problem. You are a part of the problem. So, that's unfortunate that she went ballistic. And maybe she was just having a bad day. Maybe she, I don't know. I don't know what was going on, but it's wrong.
Right.
It's
So
wrong.
let
It's
me
wrong as heck.
ask everybody at the table, ask our viewers. I know Ira, and we appreciate Ira's.
Terry's last comment.
This Terry is saying it's a rogue Justice Department, and I don't know whether I agree or disagree with you, Terry.
Right.
There's certainly a potential there. Some of the things that are going on are pretty bad, and we talked last night about what happened in Las Vegas. But let me ask you a question. So I was a police officer. Ira was a police officer. I'm a libertarian police officer, and I don't believe, which may believe that marijuana should be enforced. So I'll suggest to you, a police officer brings in a gentleman that he arrested for a possession of a pound of marijuana, right? And I happen to be processing that.
I know you're doing a podcast,
Case.
but I'm a stranger raising my hand.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so living in Detroit, that shit lit as fuck. I was at the skate park.
Okay,
Detroit,
let me finish my statement.
Before we
Okay,
was,
please.
I'm gonna keep talking because
No, you're not going
this
to
is
keep
a
talking.
public environment.
No, it's not. You're not going to talk to us. Thank you. We appreciate you, and you're welcome to come in at the right time, but not right now.
All right, so I love Detroit.
At the right
Even
time.
before weed was legalized, I was at the
So,
skate park.
Thank
That's a
you.
wonderful
Before weed
thing
was
about
legalized.
So I'm processing the
police
prisoner,
officer- No, bro, I'm literally like, man.
and I am a libertarian. I don't believe that people should be jailed for marijuana use. And if a police officer arrested this gentleman, let's just say it's a gentleman, a 20-year-old kid, and I processed him, I decided to walk him out the back door of the police station and free him. What do you think would happen to me if I did an action
Even
like that?
before weed was legalized, me being a minor at the
Have a lot
skate
of
park,
trouble.
the police,
Especially
me
if
being
he's
a
already
minor
been
getting caught
charged.
with a fucking ounce of
Especially
weed
if he
at
has already
16
been
years
charged,
old.
he has to
The
appear
cops were just
before
like,
the court.
just
You
put it in
have
a
a
puddle and stomp
You-
it out.
I'd be going to jail,
Absolutely.
as would any
You
other
better
police
use your white
officer.
privilege.
Yes.
So, thank you
Yeah.
for your comments. We appreciate being in exchange because we get all kinds of
Wait,
good
were you
comments.
born
Right.
and raised in Detroit? That was just a question. I'm not trying to antagonize you. That was just
You
a
already
question.
did try to antagonize me by calling me white privilege. So thank you for coming
Hold
in.
on. I'm being
So,
disrespectful.
let me say this. These
I'm
are the
being
kind of
disrespectful.
issues- These are the kind of issues that we face.
Excuse me.
I-
Don't get in my space.
Okay.
Don't get in my space. All
Okay,
right.
Jim.
Let's just step away. If you want to talk, you can come on later. We can talk.
Right.
We're fine. Don't get in our
Hey,
space. Please don't get in our space.
first of all, I didn't
Thank you.
I'm not doing shit wrong. This is a public environment. There's no closed
You're
off
in my
section.
space.
I actually am not. I'd be mad if I was starting to bald at that age too. However, not your friend laughing at you.
We're laughing
Thanks for
at
your
what you
time.
said. Yeah. That could have went so.
You
And
trying to
Terry
make
hit
me
it on the
like,
head. She's being very
And
disrespectful.
if he had,
over to the side, I was back there, right there. I raised
Listen.
my hand and I was like, "Ooh, can I comment on this?"
We're
shit?
not in
And he was
school,
like,
though.
Yes, and he was going back and forth.
we're not in
with me.
school though. Okay. Anyway, finish your comment, Jim. I'm sorry.
My only point to you is judges have a different standard, and they're sometimes some of the things judges do may not be acceptable.
What
And
judges?
You
other
see Terry's
arenas.
comment.
What Terry
What
said?
judges?
What Terry
What
said?
district?
Where the police at when you need.
Right, we got a retired.
Thank
we
you,
have
Terry.
A retired police officer, but I don't think he would have any problem whatsoever at all.
I have no
But you know
jurisdiction.
what? Right, but listen, I'm glad that people say things like this happen all the time. I actually had a matter this like that where things just went totally left, according to the judge. And if my client had complied, he would be in the situation that he's in. But you just listen. You can't get in people's personal space.
Yes.
You can say whatever the heck you want, but don't come up on me.
Right.
Do not do that. Do not do that. And your opinion belongs to you and
You alone.
I actually like your hair, Jim, or the lack thereof. I'm just
Wow.
so okay. So anyway, I didn't even know who that was. I thought maybe I was like, "Is this?" But she did this. I was like, "That's not the person that's running for city council."
No,
That's
she
what I
over there.
guess.
I don't
Okay.
think she's a
Okay.
frequent contributor to the show, but maybe she will become a frequent
I
contributor.
hope not. Not with that.
Terry says you were ready.
Right. Absolutely. Okay. So,
My-
outrage.
My outrage is this. At the end of the day, to make an unnecessary issue out of someone not getting drafted into the NFL is a complete waste of time. And for people to be calling on protests to the NFL based on someone not getting drafted, I mean, come on, we have more important issues to worry about. We just had an issue right now that probably the person needs some other assistance. That's more important than someone not getting drafted into the NFL.
Well, explain a little bit about that.
What I'm talking about is there are 32 teams in the NFL, 32 owners. If they made a decision not to draft Shedeur Sanders, that's their decision and their decision alone. But people to be all outraged about that, up in arms, talking about protesting, I mean, for what? There are plenty of things we could be protesting right here in America right now. And to use capital on this issue, come on. It's no different than the Shannon Sharp issue. Spending time on that is a waste of time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Both of these
disagree.
issues are not going to do anything to move the needle in the Black community, white community, purple community, yellow community. We have more important issues to be worrying about than someone not getting drafted into a professional football league that's nothing more than entertainment.
And he will get drafted. He'll be a fine NFL football
I
player.
think he's a good player.
I do too.
I heard that one of the owners had said, or one of the GMs had said, I've never had an interview see more arrogance and stuff like that. So look, the Lions have a culture of just hardworking, and as far as I can tell, they're just good people. They're all the players who seem, everyone that I've heard they're good people. And that's something you don't want to break up with somebody who's going to be
Bigger than the team.
Yeah, bigger than the team, a troublemaker. It's part of the culture. And
And they're
people
not-
calculate decisions on who they're going to draft based on, is this a good fit in our culture? Is this a good fit? Do we need that person? And apparently people are a little bit reluctant to, you know.
And there were 96 opportunities for him to get drafted. There's a reason why 96 opportunities were not his name being called.
Well, I'll suggest this to you. This is history, all right? Reputation can be wrecked by one anonymous source, which is a problem. I have a real issue with if that general manager or that interviewer needs to come out and say, my name's Allan Lengel, and I interviewed Shadir Sanders, and this is why I wouldn't pick him. That's not what happened here. This is an independent source that's trashing a guy, and I disagree with that.
No, there's an actual piece that I'll forward to you all later of actual quote from general managers and teams as to what the problem was with the interview. Yeah, the people are named.
Okay.
And the teams are named. So
What is your outrage, Allan?
I'm just taking it all in
I
here.
know,
It's a
right?
lot of
You
drama
can't-
today. A lot of fucking
Detroit in black and
drama.
white.
Yeah, it's no, I think, the whole judicial thing, that judgeship is, I just think, and maybe it's the right thing to do, but I worry that this administration is trying to overstep in some ways, and maybe what they did, the arrest was legitimate, but I question, I think judges are concerned about due process here. And I think we need to make sure when we ask the judge to uphold the law, we have to make sure the administration is doing the same. So, but anyways.
So my
I read
outrage,
it yesterday.
I'm looking at this article. It's in a bridge, and it's about the former mayor of the city of Detroit, Kwame Kilpatrick, who his sentence was commuted in 2021 by President Trump. And supposedly he left a voicemail on a legislature's phone. He actually wants a pardon because a pardon will allow him he wouldn't have to pay the money that he owes the city of Detroit. And, his thing is, look, I went and campaigned for this guy all over the United States. I had to cut a commercial. Dude, give me a solid. I think that's outrageous. I think that is ridiculous. He gave you a solid. You were mad at the former president, the president before Trump. He wouldn't give you a solid and let you out. Trump gave you commuted your sentence. Are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And listen, this is the same person who I believe will end up running for office, and people will probably vote for him.
Probably will.
People will vote for him. That is outrageous.
Well, I can't keep track of all the people who have been pardoned and commuted, and you go to the January 6th, which is outrageous. If somebody walked into the Capitol and walked out, I have no problem with you pardoning that individual.
Right.
But if somebody committed violence against another human being, that person should be
Or
incarcerated.
Right, but if you impact the livelihood of human beings, that is a problem. I don't know whether or not you should be pardoned. And the reason I'm saying that, I'm talking about the lady who raised the money that we talked about last night.
Right.
Listen, no, not at all, ma'am. Not at all.
She was facing 140
Okay,
years.
well,
she
140
was?
years is
Yeah.
probably too much.
Right.
But still, you should have done something. That I have a problem with that.
How much
I
money
have a
was it?
problem with this guy. Now she said this guy, the former mayor of the city of Detroit. You got a solid, dude. And now you whining because you want something else? When does it stop? And a lot of people said that he had changed. I was one of them. I said, well, he said it's been called by the Lord, and maybe he has. But this right here says to me, maybe not, sir.
Yeah, well, he still owes money from a state case. So that can't be
Erased.
That can't be erased unless the governor, I guess the governor might be able to pardon, but that's not likely to happen. Yeah, I mean, the one thing that kind of bothers me is that I've talked to Kwame multiple times since, and one of his ministry, he's got the virtual ministry where he talked about, he said, Black men in Detroit have to fess up to if they've done wrong. They have to come out and admit it. And I don't think we still, to this day, have had him come out and just basically say, yes, he'll say stuff like, I did something wrong. He'll, when I talked to him, he said, yeah, well, I've done wrong. And then he'd talk about his marriage. And he'd say, yeah, I cheated on my wife and all that kind of stuff. But he got convicted by a jury that was, pretty, I think it was basically half black, half white, unanimously on the majority of charges there. I sat through the trial. I think Eric sat through some of the trial as well. And I thought there was enough evidence to convict. And I think, he still hasn't come out and really said, yeah, I did wrong on that. He came out on the Today Show and said, I didn't do anything wrong. And you're a minister.
Speak to what Allan said.
You're a minister, and you're asking people to come clean and stuff like that. But I still feel like he hasn't really.
Isn't that the issue with Menendez brothers in California? They never took responsibility.
Right.
Well, that's what. Yeah. But to your point, Allan, one of the things that because I have all my notes still. One thing that really stood out to me was a female from Detroit, because I was one of the ones that got to interview the jurors. She spoke succinctly. She said that this was a guy that I really cared about and loved. I voted for him twice. But what I learned through the course of this trial made me sick to my stomach, and I have no regrets. And these are her words. I have no regrets about the guilty verdict.
Well, to my point, I'm reading directly from the news article. A full pardon would allow compassion to avoid paying off his debt and restitution. He's still owed. Now, this was a voicemail that was left. The pardon will cure everything, he told Woodset. I'll just say because it's in the article, in the voicemail, suggesting he was still getting killed in federal court by prosecutors intent on making him pay his debts. I'm not a beggar. I'm not a bitchy guy. I just want my work to speak for itself. When Bridge contacted him, he denied knowledge of this voicemail that he left. This is a person that has changed, right? Upon hearing it, he confirmed its substance and said it's a heck of a message. Okay, what did you say? He has a what kind of ministry?
He has a virtual ministry, but also he lives in Novi. He lives in Novi now. He goes every Saturday at the Novi Public Library at 3 p.m. He does some type of preaching. I don't know what
he does. He does Sunday. Sunday. He does it on Saturday.
Yeah, he does some type of thing, which I don't know what arrangement he has with the city of Novi to do that, but he has a virtual ministry. I mean, his goal is to have a brick and mortar church. He's been speaking everywhere. And I think he really came back here partly because, they were down in Atlanta or the Atlanta area. His base is here. He had a virtual ministry, but I think the following was really here in Detroit. And I think he could create a big church.
Yeah, whatever. Now, Ira Todd says play the voicemail. I'll try to figure out how to play it. I don't know if is this the clip or what. But he said it speaks volumes. But me reading it, I'm like, are you kidding me? I know we're not. I know he's not kidding me. But people should be outraged, okay? People should be, because to me, it's not so much that you want. Listen, I tell people all the time, ask for what you want. The worst somebody could say is no.
And we used to both answers, yes and no.
Absolutely.
We have some great comments.
And I think that, listen, you were so excited to get that commutation, if you will. You went and did all of this bit, and now unless this guy told you, yes, for sure, I'm going to give you a pardon, get the heck out of here. I have a problem with you saying that you didn't say it, you didn't leave the voicemail, and we have evidence that you did, which to me says you are the same person that was on trial years ago for all that nonsense. That is a problem because it speaks to who and what you are as a person.
I think what a pardon would also do is clear the way. Right now, Michigan law says if you are convicted of a felony and it's related to public office, you cannot run for state office or local office for 20 years. But clearing the way. He could run for Congress.
He could run for Congress.
He could run for
against
U.S.
Shree.
Senate right now, but
But you have to move. Is he
Right.
right now?
But he would have. But he could run if he gets pardoned. He
Right.
can run for mayor, city council, whatever he wants.
That's probably his aim,
Governor.
because he know Detroiters will reelect him. I mean,
Yeah.
they just.
I
they
get
would.
that. I'm talking about the voicemail message that you denied that you left.
And was this Bridge Magazine that
This is
published
Bridge, yes.
Okay.
Yes, Bridge,
That
yesterday.
is what's outrageous to me.
Okay.
That you would not be truthful. You know you left that voicemail.
And did he,
Say, yeah,
and
I
I'm sorry,
expect that.
did
Yeah,
he-
that's
did he-
what I want.
did he admit it after
Even
that?
Yeah, he
yes,
admitted
after
afterwards.
they played it for him. So that's what I'm outraged about. Listen, you ask for what you want. If you get it, fine. If you don't, okay. I don't have a problem with it. Although you were given a solid before. But guess what? You did not, you told a non-truth. That is a problem for me. That's outrageous for me. So,
Let's get the guest over.
yeah. So we have a guest, and I'm going to let
Chantel.
Aaron introduce the guest.
All righty.
And we're going to get to the comments in a minute. Thanks everybody for
Great
commenting.
comments.
Dave, Timothy, Sam, Kenneth Powell, thank you so much. Sherman, Derek Henry, thank you so much for your Ira Todd. Thank you guys so much for your comments. Okay, Eric.
So next we have this morning is Chantel Watkins. She is a candidate for District 5 City Council of Detroit, and the youth group that I am a mentor of, we interviewed her about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Actually, her cousin happens to be one of the mentees at the group, and that's how I first learned about Ms. Watkins, and decided to see if she was available to come be interviewed here with Detroit in Black and White, and she graciously agreed to it. And so what we're going to do is ask you to introduce yourself and then tell us why you are running for city council. And then after that, the questions will flow.
Of course, my name is Chantel Watkins. I am a young mother, a single mother in Detroit. I have 15 years of experience working in political organizing and activism. I've worked on minimum wage bills, reproductive justice, corporate accountability, and a lot of things in between. I've raised almost $100,000 in mutual aid efforts in the city. Outside of nonprofit work, I'm currently the online to offline organizing manager at Detroit Action. I've worked with places like everywhere from Women's March to Planned Parenthood, One Fair Wage. I've had the pleasure of doing a lot of legislative backing up and working across the aisle to make things happen. And I want to see a Detroit that works for everybody. I love all the energy that has happened downtown. I've enjoyed the NFL draft days and the new things that they have, but it's time to bring that energy to the neighborhoods. Trickle it down to our small business owners, to the people who own homes, to our renters, to our unhoused population. I can't wait to see those things happen, and I'm excited to use ordinances in the city budget and our social services available in order to make it so.
And how long have you lived in, are you native of Detroit, and how long have you lived in Detroit?
So I was born on a military base. Both of my parents are veterans, but my dad's originally from Detroit, and we moved back in 1996. So I've been here since
Yeah,
I was
where'd
5.
you go to school?
I graduated high school from Southfield Lathrop. I went to Notre Dame for college and University of Detroit Mercy.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So I've been living on the North End pretty much my entire adult life. In District 5. So I've lived everywhere in District 5, from Lafayette Park to Jefferson and Van Dyke. I live on the North End currently. So I've had the pleasure of from west to east in District 5, living all over.
We hear a lot about people saying we need more in the neighborhoods. You know, what does that look like? When you talk about, I mean, it sounds great, but specifically, what does that look like in terms of bringing in money and development and stuff like that?
Yeah, definitely. So I call it a 15-minute city, right? Anywhere you can walk. So there's a lot of places. You go to Ferndale, you go to Birmingham, you can walk to a retailer, a restaurant, a grocery store, all from your home within 15 minutes. And I want to see that in the city. Where I live, it's not really a walkable grocery store, right? There's not a retailer close to where I am. I live like Woodward and Claremont.
Okay.
So there's not many places available to either walk
Straight up
to.
North End.
Yeah, straight up North End. So there's not a lot of places, and my neighborhood's not the only one that's like that. Most of my district does not have immediate like stores. I'm also a mom. My kids don't have laser tag in our neighborhood. There's no laser tag. There's no movie theaters in Detroit. There's so many different opportunities that we have where we saw these tax abatements work for corporations. Let's give them to small businesses so people will open multiple businesses, which also brings economic opportunity for multiple jobs in the neighborhood. We know that our public transportation needs improvements, but if we have places where people can work, where they are able to walk to, we won't even have to do that. No, that's okay. You're okay. And there's so many opportunities for that, but also when I'm knocking doors, there's people's homes. I can't even walk on their porch. They're restricted to their side door, because a lot of people have like economic disparities where they can't afford home improvements. So also having a home improvement grant program. We know that a lot of our Detroit homeowners who have been owning their homes for 40, 50, 60 years have been overtaxed, but they've been able to stay in that place. So what do we give them back? Homeowner repair grants. We give them the opportunity to do stuff like that. Not through the city. Not through the city. So like DTE has a program and a couple of other like entities have programs, but there isn't a homeowner grant program through the city of Detroit. So I would like to set aside some of the budget in order to do that for people.
Chantel, so there's a very crowded field, people that are running in I think you guys have the most.
It's like 13, I think.
13 candidates. So how do you distinguish yourself from the other candidates?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things is not making empty promises and actually understanding what the function of the seat is. I've heard some of my opponents guarantee that they're going to lower rent. That's not even possible with the city council seat. We have preemption, that's a state law, and those things have to go through state seats. I understand the function of the seat and what's actually able to be accomplished within the seat. So that's, making sure that we have a balanced budget. That's connecting people to social resources and showing up for citizens and having town halls and forums and fighting for them, when I'm talking to state legislators or federal legislators as well, making sure that we have grant programs that affect our citizens, and then also making ordinances and making sure that those things are enforced. So all the things that I'm promising folks, I know are a function of the actual seat. And when I'm talking to people at the doors and giving them the education, because they'll be like, hey, can you lower rent? No, I can't lower rent, but I think that we should have a renters and tenants ordinance, a town, like something that sticks up for them with a clause for seniors in it as well. So having those things and having those conversations with folks not only differentiates me from my opponents, but it really shows that you have to know what the seat is in order to get your support and actually have those conversations with people.
Oh, I was just saying, there's a new food co-op on Woodward.
Yes.
Not far. Is within walking distance, I would assume.
Kind of. It depends if I got my 4-year-old with me or not.
Is that something that could be? I keep meaning to stop by and shop there. Is that something
Take
that
your
could
platinum card with you.
Yeah.
Not cheap. I mean,
It's
I'm
not
just saying.
cheap.
Not cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that something that can be duplicated in the city, like co-ops and stuff like that?
I think it should be duplicated, and I would love to see it in neighborhoods, but it is expensive to shop at the co-op.
Yeah.
So we need to see different things. So one of the immediate plans that I have is a grant program for refrigeration units for gas stations and for liquor stores. We know a lot of people have to depend on those places to get their groceries, unfortunately, because there aren't grocery stores. So why don't we work with like the Linwood Fresh Market and the Detroit Co-op and other, local retailers to make sure we have those refrigeration units and we have affordable groceries in there so people have an option to eat healthy food. But as a long-term plan, we've seen that the corporate tax abatements have worked for downtown.
Right.
Why don't we bring those to the neighborhoods, to bring the Kroger and the Meijer and all those other grocery stores so people have that? Because it's very, very important. As a mom, I usually am catching myself driving to the suburbs for affordable groceries for my kids. But when we talk about, not everybody in Detroit has transportation to do so. So they are dependent on places like, little quick stores or Family Dollar or anything, or gas stations, and you're not getting lettuce and tomatoes from those places. So I think it's very important to be creative and think of the different things that we can
And
do.
food trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like those barbecue stands and everything, and all that food is good, delicious. I love it, but I want to see, I want people to have the opportunity to put their health first and affordable.
And I have a two-pronged question. I just learned about the tool library that they have in Detroit now, which is an amazing idea. And for those that do not know, they have certain parts of the city where there are tools available for the citizens to borrow from and cultivate their yards and all that. Because a lot of stuff people cannot afford. That's a great idea. But when you spoke to our students, you know,
That's
education.
a great podcast, by the way.
Yeah,
Those students are professional.
So there's a major issue in the city of Detroit with regards to education. You as a city council person, how would you handle the talk of the city, the mayor, city council being involved with the school system?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of different layers for that, right? So we also know that 51% of Detroiters, last time they put the data out, are functionally illiterate.
Right.
So a lot of the stuff that we have available to, that gets to them is all written. And if you're functionally illiterate, you might not be able to, think about that information and take it the way that it's written out. So I think one of the biggest things is also having, a hotline for people to call to be able to get information or video access and everything. But also we need to make sure that while we want to educate our students, which is the utmost priority, we also have to make sure that we're being there for their parents as well. So one of the biggest things that I am committed to doing is continuously every 2 weeks having town halls, having information released so people know the resources. We also have a language barrier for some folks, right? The city of Detroit does not translate any of its material into Spanish or Arabic. And we know that we have a lot of citizens, and that's an easy fix. And that's one of the things I'm committed to doing once I get there, is making sure that every single Detroiter has access, whether it's ESL, Spanish, Arabic, whether you might have a problem when it comes to reading, we're able to do it on video. I think that if we want everybody to participate and get a piece of the pie, we have to make sure that everybody can actually access the information to do so.
And that's interesting that they don't translate to the population that is second to the American population, which are Hispanics and Middle Easterners.
Yeah, and we have a lot of those people all through the city, especially District 5, we're getting an influx of Spanish speakers.
District 6 too.
Yeah, District 6 has had that for years, but now, driving through District 5 and talking to folks and everything, there's a lot more too. So I definitely want everybody to get the access to all the information that they need, because if we have all these services and nobody can access them, then they're going to tell us that they don't work, which is not the case. They do work, but we need to make sure that people are able to get them.
So I have two questions.
Yes, ma'am.
One, today that there's a candidate for the mayor.
Yes.
And are you planning on attending? And two, is there going to be a forum? Is there a forum planned for all the candidates that are running for city council?
Yes, so I will not be at the candidates forum today because I'm running in District 5 and my race is my priority.
Okay.
So my race is my priority. I have a lot of wonderful things to do that people have invited me to. I do want to learn more about all the mayoral candidates, but I got to put my race first. And then on May 15th, there is a District 5 candidates forum, and it's at 6 p.m. and it's at the church on Woodward and Claremont. I can't remember the name of it.
Right, the Catholic Church?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, it's right there. Yep,
Okay.
at 6 p.m.
Okay. Is it invitation only?
No, the Community Advisory Committee for District 5 is actually putting that on. So it's open to the public, and I hope to see everybody there.
Okay, tell us again. Tell them again.
Tell our viewers about District 5. What that?
Ooh, it's big.
That's on your
Well,
website.
I'm in District 5,
Yeah.
but tell us
Yes.
what it is.
Yeah, so it starts about Dexter and Davison, goes all the way down through Virginia Park, the North End, Boston Edison, Midtown, part of downtown, and it goes down Jefferson all the way to Van Dyke, in between Jefferson to Mack. So that's where it is currently. The lines have been redrawn and it will go into effect next year, but it's a big area, and I'm really excited because it's the biggest geographically, and I think it's very important because we hold a lot of our corporations and our businesses there as well.
And you have children.
Yep.
How old are they?
I have one son. He's 4 years old.
And where is he going to go to school?
I'm not telling everybody where my baby's going to school, but it is DPSCD.
It is,
Yes.
okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay, we have I call him co-host, Cashmere Monroe. She wants to know if you are affiliated with Michigan United.
I love that question because the first organization I ever worked with when I was 19 years old was Michigan United under Eric Shelley. I was a member leader there. And I still work very closely with Michigan United. I'm very, very excited about all the things that they do there. And I've worked in many coalitions with them.
What does Michigan United do?
Michigan United is a social justice organization that works on a lot of different electoral issues like voting rights, police accountability, and a lot of other things. I've had the pleasure of working with them with corporate accountability most recently. So very exciting.
It is not the end of the interview, but can you tell the co-hosts and viewers what is your website or how can they get in touch with you?
Of course, my website is Chantel for Detroit. That's CHANTELFOR Detroit.com. That's also my Instagram, or you can follow me on Facebook at Chantel CHANTEL Watkins. And I'm very available. DM me, ask me questions, come to our events. I think one of the biggest things, if I want to represent the community, then I have to talk to the community. So I'm very reachable, and I'm never going to turn my nose up at my people because I'm right there with you.
So we have a co-host, Carl Orbs. He said he wants to ask you, he said, do you believe that Councilwoman Mary Sheffield has done a reasonably good job with Council District 5?
So there are a lot of things that I liked that Councilwoman Sheffield did, right? She did vote on the ordinance for property owners, right? That they do deserve their money back. She also helped fund Right to Counsel, which Right to Counsel means that if you're facing eviction or any problems with your landlord, then you get a free lawyer from the city. So there are a lot of different things that, she voted against some tax abatements with corporations that never fulfilled that 51% of Detroiters that they're supposed to hire. So I liked a lot of the things that she's done. I think she's done a good job. But what I want to build on is some of the things that, she didn't have the opportunity or she missed out on, and build an even better Detroit. So I think that the people who have come before me or who are sitting on city council right now have had really good ideas. But I want to be creative and reimagine the way that we look at things than we have historically in the city.
And there are a lot of people that feel, there are a lot of females in the race for city council across the 7 districts and citywide at large. But there's also this group of people that do not feel that a woman is capable of leading. Mm-hmm. What's your opinion on that?
I think that time has really shown that not to be true. Women have done really great jobs in leadership historically across the board. There's not a movement where women have not helped lead the charge. Even if because of history, women couldn't be front facing, they always helped. So I'm very, very excited to continue that on and be front facing. But everybody that I work with a diverse team of folks, whether that's women, men, people from different backgrounds, people from different age groups, from youth to seniors. I think that all leadership needs diversity, and I'm only as good as the people behind me. So as long as I keep a good group of folks and not put my wants and needs first, but always listen to the constituents and everybody, will be able to represent everybody beautifully.
And one final question before we let you go. There are, as Vanessa stated, and you stated, think about the 13 candidates running in District 5. What differentiates you from the other 12?
Yeah, I think also one of the biggest things is I'm running my race, and I know that a lot of people will have things to say and want to bring things up and have conversations, but the constituents don't care about that. They care about the issues. They want to feel heard. They want to know that you care about housing. They want to know that you care about where they're getting their groceries, if they're safe, if they have street lights. When we're knocking on doors and somebody tells us they have an immediate need, we're calling them back and letting them know what number they can call for immediate home repairs or how they can get food and everything like that. So one of the biggest things is that not only have I been proven to be a part of community, I was at the Aldi on Woodward the other day, and there was a man out there asking for money for cereal and milk. That's a very specific need. My assumption is he has children to feed at home. I brought him inside, bought him some groceries, more than just cereal and milk. Those are the things that I do out my way that I don't have to post on social media. So I know that I'm rooted very deeply in community because I also have needs. I rent a 2-bedroom apartment. I'm a single mom. Everything that I have to work very, very hard for. So some people might be career politicians or look forward to that, but I'm a member of this community. I'm a Detroiter who, when I'm talking about the issues, they're currently affecting me. So the drive and the passion and the hustle and the grit that I have to go hard for them is also in my self-interest. So I could never betray Detroiters because what they're going through, I'm currently going through.
Okay, well, tell us one more time about the forum that you're going to participate
Yes.
in, and give your information again if someone wants to get in contact with you?
Yes, of course. So May 15th, the Community Advisory Council for District 5 is doing a candidate forum. I'm going to post it on my Instagram story so everybody has all of the correct information. It's Chantel for Detroit, CHANTELFOR, Detroit.com. That's also my Instagram page. And it's Chantel Watkins for my Facebook. And you can DM me. We can be friends. I'm always looking to connect with Detroiters because although I have a lot of similar issues as Detroiters, I know they affect us all differently. So I want everybody's perspective.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yes,
for coming
thank
on
you
the
guys
show.
for having
You're welcome
me.
to come back.
Yes, I
Anytime.
enjoy.
And
Yes.
tell all your friends about Detroit and Black and
I
White.
will.
Have them subscribe.
Yes, make sure you text me the link so I can post this on my page too.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And
I support everybody who supports me, so I'll definitely be posting it.
Absolutely. God bless you on
Thank
your journey.
you. I appreciate you.
Very
Thank you. It's
kind.
so good to
Good
see you
luck.
again.
Good luck.
Yes, I appreciate you guys.
Okay. That was a great interview.
All
Wonderful
right.
young lady, very energetic. What I like is that we get it because we hear so much that, we need young people involved.
Right.
I like the fact that we actually had young people that are getting involved, boots on the ground. They've been involved, right? And they're continuing carrying the torch, and I think that is awesome.
And they have a story to tell that people can
Absolutely.
relate to. I mean, having a child, single parent, people can relate to that. I mean, we got to be
Right.
real about it. Detroit is a city where 70% of the households are headed by females.
Right.
It's really
Absolutely.
exciting to see young people
Yes.
embrace the political
It is.
process.
It
I think
is.
that's bodes well
They're
for us.
very
Yes.
sharp.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we need. I mean, you see, look at all Dick Durbin just announced he's not going to run for re-election. Gary Peters, you have a lot of the seasoned politicians, even though I wouldn't call Gary Peters a seasoned politician with regards to career politician. But a lot of the I changed the term. A lot of the career politicians are moving out of the way
Yeah.
to bring in younger blood.
That's interesting that you should bring up Gary Peters. I was at I don't like using the word senior, I would say seasoned meeting over on the east side.
Mature.
Yes.
All on me mature
yesterday
again.
on the east side yesterday. And Gary Peters had his representative there talking to the constituents and talking about, listen, we don't care whether the person is Republican or Democrat. You need to get in contact with them and tell them what's wrong because they still represent you.
Right.
But more importantly, he says, listen, I'm going to continue to do my job. I'm still here for the next year. It's important that the community stays involved, keeps involved, keep making those phone calls. So, I mean, he does have people here in the city that's saying, hey, he's working on our behalf. We want to hear what you guys are concerned about. Of course, Social Security was the big topic of the day yesterday. In addition to that, there was Scott Benson, of course, was there at the meeting. And they talked about, I think I said this last night, you had people that were concerned about that cement facility that's over
On the east side.
And they questioned him about it. So you do have people that are in the community that's concerned, but what's wonderful is when we have people like Chantel that says, hey, I want to be involved, I am involved, and I want to continue to be involved, and you should have confidence in me to continue to do this. This is someone who has worked in the community, not an elected official, but she's doing it because that's how she feels, and that's what she believes that she should do.
And that's what people have to pay attention to. Who's doing something in the community prior to putting their name on the ballot?
Absolutely.
I'll save it for Wednesday because I need to do more research on it because there was a congresswoman who was Democrat who was booed out of her town hall because the constituents do not feel that she and or her party, are doing enough. And I'll bring that to the table on Wednesday, but we have to be cognizant of that because the people are not speaking. And I think it's going to be important because I think there will be a lot of engagement come 2026. And there has to be more engagement in Detroit because we need to understand the reality of the matter is 4 years ago, only 14% voted in the primary. Only 18% voted in the general election, for mayor. So people have to step up.
Carl Org says that basically he didn't appreciate the interview with Chantel Watkins. And again, that's your opinion. He believes that she's going to continue to carry on what Mary Sheffield has done. I think she distinguished herself. She said, listen, I like some things that she's done, but there's some things that could, there's some things that need to be addressed. And I think she addressed those issues. But I appreciate you, Carl Orgs, for commenting and watching the show.
But people have to be mindful of the fact that she lives in a district where a person has been the representative in that district for 12 years.
Yep.
Some things are, Allan, you can speak to it. Some things are going to stay the same. Some things are going to change. But you got to give that person an opportunity to at least change before you be so dogmatic about having a pessimistic attitude about it. They're two different people.
Right. She seems very sharp. She seems to have some drive and some vision there. And it's great to hear candidates who have that.
They can't all win, and let's just hope they're involved regardless if they win, lose, or draw. She has a good chance. I'm just saying everybody can't win the election, but I'm glad that there's so many people.
She's gonna stay involved. If she win, lose, or draw, she's gonna stay involved. Stay involved. Obviously, from her interview.
To Eric's point is something that I always say. Listen, we bring these candidates on the show. It's your job to do the work to find out about these candidates. Do the work, okay? You gonna judge somebody based on what somebody else has done? No, you judge that person for who she is or who he is.
Although when you say that, when they have 13 candidates, how many of us are really going to do a deep dive? This is a good opportunity.
Absolutely.
To have people.
Platforms like
I'm
this.
I'm not going to go home and spend the next week studying the fifth. And I think I speak for the majority of people that they're not going to do a deep dive into all the candidates.
You are absolutely right. But what people do, and you've done it, I've done it. Hey, what you know about this candidate? Yeah. Somebody that you respect, somebody that you know is involved, somebody that you know or you feel like they know who is who and what they're doing. That is what you do. And when there's platforms like this, listen, all it takes is a Google search. All it takes is a Google search. We've had how many of the mayoral candidates on the show? We've had at least 6 of them so far. 6 of them so far. You can do a Google search, right? And you can follow them. And we've had 2 people that's running for city council so far. So,
although
that last time,
and then we also, we have to be cognizant as well. All the candidates are well spoken and stuff like that. But I've dealt with salespeople who are even
Queen Bee
salespeople who were working for me, who talk a great game and really couldn't deliver. So there are people who are great at articulating things, but are capable of really delivering. So that's where it really helps to ask people, what do you know about this person, and what's, people have great resumes also, and sometimes the resumes don't really
match up to their
competence.
Or what's his name, Orpega? Part Org. He may have some inside information about, her relationship with Mary Sheffield or whatever, but it's still important for, as Vanessa stated, for people to do their own research.
And that's what's great about this show. We have people out there contributing all day long.
Absolutely.
And if I could really quickly run through, Kenneth Reed, our old friend we haven't seen in a while. Queen Bee is contributing. Cashmere, Timothy, the other Kenneth, Terry, Day. Sorry, Day, about your challenges there. Jan, Parorgs, Mike, Sherman, Sam, Derek, and Edward Carr. We may be related because my mother was a Carr. Who knows? I just want to say they're contributing to the show, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. So I'm going to make my last comment about this. Listen, we are very fortunate to have so many bright, so many educated, so many qualified people running for office. I can't remember. It's been a long time since we've had this. Really competitive races. And so people should be really, really energized and excited about the fact that you actually have options. Real options.
It's up in District 1.
And I forgot Ira. Ira's a
Right.
great contributor.
Hey, Ira. Right. So I'm going to let everybody do their final thoughts, and then you can catch us again on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Like, subscribe, and share. Detroit Black and White.
That was my final thoughts. Thanks
Okay.
to all our contributors.
All right.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks to all the contributors. And Part Org, I get what you're saying, and we can find a way to communicate offline, but I get your point.
I want to say that at 12:30 today, they have the candidates gathering. I'm going to try right after the show to put a YouTube link on at Deadline Detroit if people want to watch the. I think it's going to be at least a couple hours or something like that.
I didn't get an invitation. Well, I didn't get a formal invitation. But
anyways, we'll try. Well, hopefully everyone can see it because I think it's really important that the more we see, like I say, most of us aren't going to go and spend the whole afternoon studying all the candidates, but we do want to know about it. We want to both be educated about the candidates when we vote.
That's great. That's great. All right. Join us again Wednesday. Thank you so much for participating. Thanks to